The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. seeks to push through with a joint oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea with China. Supporters urge the Supreme Court to issue a temporary restraining order for disqualified Albay Governor Noel Rosal. Senators speak on the government's plan to enter into agreements with other countries to develop nuclear energy use in the Philippines. And South Korea and Japan launch fighter jets after military aircraft from Russia and China have repeatedly entered their air defense zones. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, the 1st of December, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am William Theo. First in the news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. wants the joint oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea to proceed. PBBM said the government will find ways to push through with a said joint exploration. Nel Maribuhok reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the Philippine government will find other ways for the joint exploration with China in the area of the West Philippine Sea to proceed. The president emphasized the country's right to exploit energy reserves in the contested waterway.
I think there might be other ways para hindi gawing G2G or I don't know. We'll have to find a way. Kasi kailangan na natin eh. We already need, kung may mahanap dyan, kailangan na talaga ng Pilipinas. Yung China, hindi man, maliit na bagay sa kanila yan eh. Sa atin, malaking bagay yan. So, kailangan talaga natin ipaglaban at mapakinabangan kung meron mang oil talaga.
The Duterte administration had terminated the joint oil and gas exploration discussions with China because of legal constraints and sovereignty concerns. In August, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo said the Philippines is willing to talk to China about a joint oil and gas exploration. In connection with this, the president said China's territorial claims in the West Philippine Sea has been a roadblock in the said joint exploration in the resource-rich region. He said the competing claims over the area of the Philippines and China have resulted in a debate on whose law should be followed in case of a joint exploration.
Sinasabi ng Pilipinas, basta yung batas, kailangan masundan yung sa Pinas. Ang sinasabi naman ng Chinese, hindi. Amin yan eh. Kaya kailangan masundan is Chinese. So yun talaga, yun ang roadblock doon. Mahirap makita kung paano natin aayusin yun.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Some supporters of disqualified Albay Governor Noel Rosal urged the Supreme Court to issue a temporary restraining order over Rosal's disqualification from office. Dante Amento tells us why.
Supporters of disqualified Governor Noel Rosal traveled for over 10 hours from Albay to the Supreme Court today. They are still hopeful on the temporary restraining order or TRO from the court in favor of Rosal. The Commission on Elections or COMELEC disqualified Rosal for violating the spending ban last elections.
Nandito kami para humingi ng tulong sa Korte Suprema. Huwag lang mawala ang aming butihing gobernador.
Rosal supporters added they will come back to the Supreme Court until the tribunal would issue a statement.
Sana may balik na si Gobernador para naman matahimik na yung Albay. Hindi na laging magulo. Kagaya nito, na imbes na nananahimik na si Gobernador, pati yung mga tao, nandito kami para magsakripisyo.
Meanwhile, in a press conference last Tuesday, the Commission on Elections or COMELEC disclosed that Rosal has 1 month to secure a TRO from the court upon receipt of the final decision of his disqualification case.
Sa tanong naman po kung pwede po bang mag-file pa rin ng petition for review and certiorari pwede pa rin po na mag-file. Yun nga lang po, in the meantime na magpa-file siya, i-implement na po namin ang desisyon po ng COMELEC.
The Supreme Court, on the other hand, has no statement yet whether they deliberated Rosal's plea for TRO. Dantiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the plan of the Marcos administration to enter nuclear deals with other countries draw mixed reactions from some senators. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
Several senators are in favor of the government's plan to enter into agreements with other countries to develop nuclear energy use in the Philippines. Neophyte Senator Robin Padilla is 100% in favor of constructing nuclear power plants in the country, which he says was strengthened by former President Rodrigo Duterte. He expressed confidence that the Marcos administration will be cautious in selecting the sites where the power plants will be built. Senator J.V. Ejercito, meanwhile, says there is a need for the country to reconsider nuclear power to bring down energy costs and address the climate change issue. However, he emphasized the safety protocols must be strictly followed. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, who previously headed the Senate Committee on Energy, notes that nuclear power is a technology that the country can look at, but its risks should be carefully studied. But Senate Majority Leader Joel Villanueva has reservations on the proposal. Although he is open to discussion, the senator says he is aware of the radioactive material that is extremely harmful to humans and the environment. Villanueva stresses that there is a need to conduct a thorough evaluation of potential sites for the power plant and waste storage. The Senate leader adds he is more open to exploring the use of small modular nuclear plants for the country. But for Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel, the country's use of nuclear power must be first authorized by law. The Minority Leader believes a legal framework must be approved and a regulatory body must be formed before the project is started. He emphasized that Congress must be involved in the decision to adopt nuclear power in the country. For Senate Deputy Minority Leader Risa Ontiveros, the use of nuclear power plant is not sustainable. She also expressed concern on the radioactive waste and its long-term problem for Filipinos. For Ontiveros, the government should instead focus its effort on harnessing alternative and renewable sources of energy such as solar, wind, and hydropower. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for news abroad, customers of Medibank, one of Australia's largest private health insurance providers, were greeted with a shock on Wednesday morning, November 30, after a hacker released data from the company's systems. Paul Gatchalian details why live. Yes, Paul?
Giona, as a way to celebrate International Cybersecurity Day, a hacker released the data of Medibank customers to the dark web, leaving a message saying Happy Cybersecurity Day. The leaked data was uploaded to a folder named Full, which the hacker referred to when they left the message added folder Full, case closed. Up to 6 files were uploaded into the folder and altogether added up to 6.4 gigabytes, significantly higher than prior data releases which were less than 1 megabyte. Fortunately, Medibank were quick to start an investigation and released a statement today. Emily Ritchie, the Senior Executive for External Affairs, assured the customers that the data released was not sufficient to enable identity and financial fraud. According to David Koskar, the Chief Executive Officer of Medibank, full support for customers who were impacted by the crime will be provided through Medibank's Cyber Response Support Program. Meanwhile, the Australian Federal Police expressed that law enforcement will prosecute anyone who downloads or tries to benefit from the leaked customer data. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Paul, for that live report. South Korea and Japan's military and air defense forces have scrambled to release fighter jets. Nerissa Dando explains why live. Yes, Nerissa?
Good evening, Giona. South Korea and Japan launched their fighter jets after military aircraft from Russia and China have repeatedly entered and left their air defense zones. According to Seoul's Joint Chief of Staff, 2 Chinese H-6 bombers entered the Korean Air Defense Identification Zone, or CADIZ, around Wednesday 5:50 a.m. local time. Hours later, China's warplanes along with Russian warplanes, the Tu-95 bombers and Su-35 fighter jets, re-entered the zone from Japan Sea and left the Cadiz in 18 minutes. Meanwhile, China and Russia both claimed that they were regularly conducting joint military exercises. Giona, a country's air defense zone, is an airspace where foreign aircraft are demanded by countries to identify themselves to prevent accidental clashes. But Moscow does not acknowledge South Korea's air defense zone. Beijing also argued that the zone was not territorial airspace and that countries should be able to enjoy freedom of movement. South Korea also acknowledges that while the warplanes flew across its air defense zone, this does not violate the country's territorial airspace. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Nerissa, for that live report. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries wins a historic bid to lead the House of Democrats as the current Speaker Pelosi steps aside next year. Monica Canlas reports.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries sets history by being the first Black American to lead a major political party in Congress as the Democratic minority leader in the new Congress next year. Mr. Jeffries will be replacing long-serving Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her team as they step aside next year. The 52-year-old New Yorker's ascent is described as a long overdue moment in America and a milestone for Black Americans. After the Democratic Party's loss in the midterm elections, they welcomed the new generation of leaders on Wednesday through internal Democratic caucus votes. Without challengers, Mr. Jeffries was voted along with Catherine Clark as the Democratic whip and Pete Aguilar as caucus chairman. Mr. Jeffries hopes for the Democratic Party to get things done with the Republicans to make Americans' lives better, but also oppose their extremism whenever necessary. Monica Canlas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Giona. The computerized facial composites of the 2 suspects in the missing Sabongeros case in Santa Cruz, Laguna were released by the PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG. The perpetrators are suspected to be police personnel. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or PNP-CIDG, is set to file a kidnapping case against the 2 suspects in the case of the missing Sabongero, or cockfighting enthusiast in Santa Cruz, Laguna, which occurred in April of last year. The suspects are visible on the cell phone video that the CIDG obtained, and one of them has been identified as alias Dondon, according to CIDG spokesperson Police Major Mayan Cunanan.
Meron po tayong video na makikita din po dun yung isang parte na ito. Bali yung nailabas lang din po is yung naglalakad na ng patalikod po. At saka meron din po tayong sinabi na meron din tayong witness kung saan ito din yung nakita.
While the victim is identified as Michael Bautista.
Yun din po yung pinatotoonan ng kanyang kapatid at ang kanyang asawa po na bago po nawala ay ito yung kanyang damit, ito ang kanyang haircut, ito yung kanyang mga accessories. So, bago ito siya nawala.
The computerized facial composites of 2 suspects were released by the CIDG. One of them has a large body build and is between the ages of 25 and 50. And the other suspect is large build, 5'6" to 5'7" in height and ages 45 to 50.
Ang facial composite natin ay tinutumbok na kung sino yung tinatrack natin na minomonitor natin mga tao na pwedeng sangkot din siya sa isang organized group kung saan related din siya sa mga sabong ginagamit na empleyado sa mga sabungan.
CIDG Director Police Brigadier General Ronald Lee says the perpetrators are believed to be police officers.
Binibigyan pa po natin sila ng pagkakataon na sila ay sumuko dito sa ating opisina. Dahil dun sa, based nga dun sa interview ng aming director na si Brigadier General Lee, na inihikayat niya pa na makipagtulungan itong mga to na na-identify para ituro kung sino pa yung mga kasama niya.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The wife of missing sabungero or cockfighter Michael Bautista has filed a kidnapping and serious illegal detention complaints before the Department of Justice or DOJ on Thursday, December 1. The respondents were certain Julie Patigongan alias Dondon and John Doe, who were seen in a video during the alleged commission of the crime. They will also meet Justice Secretary Crispin Boying Rimulya tomorrow at the DOJ.
Importante po nakatulong po siya sa kaso namin kasi kagaya po niya nakilala ko po yung asawa ko. Nakilala ko po yung suot niya kasi ako po yung na-prepare nun eh. Tapos yung body bag niya po na nakilala nung kapatid niya kasi sa kanya po galing yun. Meron na pong pinangalanan na po sila kaya ngayon po mag-file kami ng kaso laban po dun sa dalawang kasama ng asawa ko sa video.
In other news, a House bill seeking to establish a sovereign wealth fund hurdles the committee panel at the House of Representatives. Lawmakers aim to approve the said bill on second reading by December 7. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. views a sovereign wealth fund as an essential body for nation building. The House Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries approved adopted amendments on House Bill number 6398. Under the said bill, a 275 billion peso sovereign wealth fund to be called Mahardika Wealth Fund will be established. According to House Speaker Martin Romualdez, the said measure would help in improving investment opportunities and to ensure that the Philippines becomes an investment destination. Speaker Romualdez also said this is in line with the President's 8-point socio-economic roadmap. The lawmaker also explains that the sovereign wealth funds are essential in stabilizing our national budgets, creating savings for their citizens, and promoting economic development. Meanwhile, Albay Representative Joey Salceda assures there will be no shadow accounts or investments once the bill is enacted into law. Representative Salceda said there are safeguards including 3 layers of audit and 4 layers of good corporate governance. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Philippine Ports Authority or PPA announced on Thursday, December 1st that all ports under their jurisdiction are operating without congestion or backlogs in container traffic so far this month. PPA spokesperson Eunice Samonte mentioned that the yard utilization rate in all PPA ports is at 84.98%. It means no signs of congestion or backlogs are recorded. In a public briefing, she said they still expect container traffic to increase as more arrive and the delivery of their cargo may suffer some slight delay. However, Samonte noted domestic PPA ports are expected to remain congestion-free and the possible delays may most likely be experienced by cargo traffic from international ports such as Los Angeles and China. She called on the public to send their packages early to avoid hassle and to quickly send their love and balikbayan boxes this holiday season. Based on PPA data, container traffic has increased by 7.16% in January to October this year as compared to the same period in 2021. This record marks a return to pre-pandemic rate of operation at PPA ports. Samonte has advised port passengers to refrain from paying individuals asking for insurance payments at PPA ports to prevent being victimized by possible scammers, since the price of passenger tickets already includes insurance fees.
The European Union proposed Wednesday, November 30, to set a specialized court to hold Russia accountable for the war crimes it committed. Charis Longbowen tells us the details live. Yes, Charis?
Since Russia does not accept the International Criminal Court's jurisdiction, the European Union presented two possible options to hold Kremlin accountable for the possible war crimes perpetrated since Ukraine's invasion. EU President Ursula von der Leyen said they can either set up an independent international court based on a multilateral treaty or a hybrid court, which is an integration of the national justice system comprised of international judges.
Russia must pay for its horrific crimes. We all remember the horrors of Bucha. Russia must pay for its horrific crimes, including for its crime of aggression against a sovereign state. And this is why, while continuing to support the International Criminal Court, we are proposing to set up a specialized court backed by the United Nations to investigate.
The Union also proposed the use of frozen Russian assets to rebuild the war-torn Ukraine with an estimated damage of $617 billion. About $308 billion of Russian assets are frozen in the central bank reserves and $20 billion of Russian oligarchs' money. The lifting of the restrictions on these assets could be linked to the conclusion of a peace deal. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Charis, for that live report. Officials from the Chinese city of Guangzhou announced the lifting of harsh COVID restrictions after a series of protests. Joselito Liquido gives us the details why live. Yes, Joselito?
Good evening, Giona. After a clash between demonstrators and police in the Chinese city of Guangzhou due to the government's strict zero COVID policy, authorities in the southern city eased its COVID restriction the next day. Australian Strategy Policy Institute, or ASPI think tank, estimated 51 protests in 23 cities. China's Vice Premier Sun Chunlan stated that the pathogenicity or ability of the virus to cause disease has weakened. Although this differs from the earlier messages from authorities about the severity of the virus and how the country's daily cases remain at nearly record levels despite longer lockdowns. In another Chinese city, Shenzhou, which is also the site of a big Foxconn factory making Apple iPhones, also announced that business will resume, including establishments such as supermarkets, gym, and restaurants. Meanwhile, another city in the southern part of China, Chongqing, will allow close contacts of people infected with the virus as long as they are quarantined at home. Giona?
Thank you, Joselito, for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Giona Pravado, live from London, United Kingdom. Good evening.
The Agriculture Department mulled on Thursday, December 1, the lifting of the ban on the sale of pompano and pink salmon in wet markets across the country. Bernadette Tinoy will tell us why.
The Department of Agriculture, or DA, will consider the lifting of moratorium on selling imported fish like pompano and salmon in public wet markets. According to agricultural spokesperson Rex Estoperez, one of their considerations is to revisit the Fisheries Administrative Order, or FAO number 195, which prohibits the selling of the said imported fishes.
Well, ang update natin sa salmon at pompano. na nag-react na yung ating mga senador at mga sa House. No? We are considering the moratorium until when, wala tayong sinasabi, but this will include the revisit of the FAO 195.
Estopere said that the FAO needs to be improved and make amendments. Salmon vendors like Mark John and Roland expressed how the confiscation will affect their job.
Tutumal kami. Siyempre hanapin yung tao ng yung mga nawalang isda, hanapin sa amin ang mga suki namin, tutumal kami.
Sa amin po, mababawasan po yung benta namin o yung kita namin. Talagang malaking bagay po talaga na mawawala talaga sa amin to kasi marami po kasing bumibili talaga niyan sa amin.
The DA, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, and other stakeholders plan to have an announcement before December 4 that will cover the consideration for the lifting of the moratorium.
BIFAR will meet with the stakeholders by this afternoon and tomorrow. Before the December 4 na confiscation, we will announce kung this is confirmed already. But to assure you, the body kanina, BIFAR, yung mga top officials, has considered already yung moratorium on the implementation.
Mark John reiterated to convince the authorities not to confiscate the salmon and pompano, especially this holiday season.
Kung pwede, di nila tanggalin para yung mga tao na gustong tumikim ng masarap na imported, di ba? Imported yan. Makakain din. Kaysa sa restaurant, di ba? Restaurant kasi mahal yan eh. Yung halimbawa kung kulang sa budget, makakatikim naman sila.
Bernadette Pino, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Manila International Airport Authority, or MIA, on Thursday, December 1st, began the initial screening procedure for passengers at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA Terminal 1. However, the Office for Transportation Security, or OTS, has clarified that other security measures have been implemented during the deployment of vehicles and armed personnel. They also deployed intelligence personnel to monitor the movement of people and the possible presence of criminal elements and terrorists. There are K9 units deployed in the airport to conduct random sniffing of luggage of passengers for possible improvised explosive devices. The OTS also plans to maintain a terminal solely for passengers to manage the movement of people in the area. Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God from the book of Matthew chapter 5 verse 3. It says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And those are the reasons behind the news the 1st of December 2022, reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people, we give glory to God.